In the 6th century BCE, a new power emerged on the Iranian plateau that would reshape the ancient world, the Achaemenid Empire. Founded by Cyrus the Great, this empire would come to stretch from the borders of India in the east to the coast of Asia Minor and the edges of Egypt in the west. Cyrus the Great was more than just a conqueror. He was a statesman and reformer who brought together a diverse range of cultures under one centralized rule. His empire was built not just on military strength, but on tolerance, diplomacy, and innovation in administration. The Cyrus Cylinder, often described as the world's first charter of human rights, reflects his approach to governance, allowing conquered peoples to maintain their religions, customs, and local authorities. But no empire lasts without succession. In 530 BCE, Cyrus died during a campaign in Central Asia, possibly while fighting the Massagetæ. His death marked the end of a legendary reign, and the enormous responsibility of maintaining the empire fell to his son, Cambyses II. Cambyses was born into the royal family of the Achaemenid dynasty, likely around the year 560, though exact dates are uncertain. He was the eldest son of Cyrus the Great and his queen Casandane, a noblewoman who belonged to the Persian aristocracy and was said to be greatly respected by Cyrus. As the heir to the Achaemenid throne, Cambyses would have grown up within the political and military circles of the expanding Persian court. He was likely educated in royal traditions, administration, and warfare, all essential for someone expected to one day rule over a vast and diverse empire. We don't know much about Cambyses' childhood, but by the time he reached adulthood, his father had already built the largest empire the world had ever seen. Cambyses was named co-ruler by Cyrus in the final years of his reign, possibly as early as 530 BC. This was not uncommon in ancient monarchies. Co-rulership allowed for a smoother transition of power and prepared the heir for the responsibilities of kingship. Around the same time, Cyrus embarked on a campaign in Central Asia against the Massagetæ, a nomadic confederation led by the warrior queen Tamiris. This campaign would be Cyrus's last. He was killed in battle, and though the details remain unclear, with Herodotus offering a dramatic version and other sources more subdued, the result was undeniable. Cyrus the Great was dead. His body was brought back to Pasargadae, the first capital of the Persian Empire, and buried in a stone tomb that still stands today, a simple yet powerful symbol of the man who had changed the course of history. With the death of Cyrus in 530 BC, the empire passed into the hands of Cambyses II, no longer as co-ruler, but now as the sole king of kings, inheritor of an empire that stretched across 3 continents. Cambyses' early reign began under the looming shadow of his father's legacy. Cyrus had unified and expanded the empire with remarkable speed and strategy. He inherited not just a kingdom, but a geopolitical giant, and with it the responsibility to secure its borders and further its dominance. But almost immediately, Cambyses faced a clear target: Egypt. At that time, Egypt was one of the last major powers in the Near East, still outside Persian control. Under the rule of Pharaoh Psamtik III, the 26th dynasty had managed to maintain independence despite the rising strength of Persia. However, Egypt's political situation was fragile, and Cambyses saw an opportunity to bring it into the Achaemenid fold. To prepare for the campaign, Cambyses moved carefully. He secured naval support from the Phoenicians and Cypriots, whose fleets would be critical for transporting troops and supplies along the Mediterranean coast. He also negotiated with local Arab tribes for safe passage through the Sinai Desert, a logistical step that allowed the Persian army to approach Egypt from the east without being cut off from resources. In 525 BC, Cambyses launched his invasion. The decisive battle took place at Pelusium, on Egypt's northeastern frontier near the Nile Delta. According to Herodotus, Cambyses employed psychological tactics, allegedly using images of cats and other sacred animals, knowing the Egyptians held these creatures in religious reverence. While modern scholars question the accuracy of this account, what is not in doubt is the outcome. The Persian army decisively defeated the Egyptians. Following the battle, Psamtik III retreated to Memphis, Egypt's capital at the time, but the Persians laid siege and captured the city. Psamtik was taken prisoner, and within a short period either executed or compelled to take his own life. With that, Egypt fell under Persian rule for the first time. Cambyses now assumed the ancient title of pharaoh, and Egypt became a province of the Achaemenid Empire. But Cambyses didn't rule Egypt as a mere foreign conqueror. Like his father before him, he attempted to legitimize his authority by respecting local traditions. He allowed temples to continue functioning and participated in some traditional ceremonies. However, over time, Cambyses' relationship with the Egyptian priesthood and nobility seems to have soured. Later sources portray Cambyses as increasingly erratic and disrespectful toward Egyptian customs. With Egypt under his control, Cambyses II looked to push the empire's boundaries even further. His next targets lay beyond Egypt's traditional frontiers, in the deserts of Libya, the interior of Nubia and Ethiopia, and across the sea toward the city of Carthage, a rising power on the North African coast. The first of these, the Achaemenid expedition, is perhaps the most mysterious. Cambyses allegedly sent an army of 50,000 men across the Libyan desert to seize the Siwa oasis and its famous Oracle of Ammon, considered sacred by the Egyptians and also consulted by foreign rulers. But according to legend, this army vanished in a sandstorm and was never seen again. While this dramatic story is often repeated, there's no archaeological confirmation of it, and some historians view it with skepticism. Still, it became one of the many tales that fed into Cambyses' reputation for recklessness. The Ethiopian campaign was poorly prepared. Cambyses reportedly underestimated the distance and terrain, and his army suffered from starvation and exhaustion. As for the Carthaginian campaign, it was never launched. Cambyses had intended to send a naval force west across the Mediterranean to challenge Carthage, but his Phoenician sailors refused to sail. Carthage had been founded by Phoenician colonists centuries earlier, and many of the sailors still held ancestral and commercial ties to the city. They would not raise arms against their kin, and Cambyses, perhaps recognizing the political risks, did not force the issue. These failures marked a turning point in Cambyses' reign. Though still ruler of a massive empire, his reputation began to suffer. Cambyses descended into madness, and he is accused of desecrating Egyptian temples, mocking sacred rituals, and even killing members of his own family, including his brother Bardia. While he was still in Egypt, disturbing news reached him. Someone had seized the throne in Persia, claiming to be his brother Bardia. Whether it was truly his brother or an impostor is still debated, but the threat was real and Cambyses knew it. According to some sources, this man was indeed Bardia, also known as Smerdis, the younger son of Cyrus the Great, but other accounts, particularly from the later reign of Darius I, tell a very different story. They claim that Cambyses had secretly ordered Bardia's execution years earlier, fearing a possible rebellion. To prevent unrest, the death was hidden from the public. This created the perfect opportunity for an impostor to step in. That impostor, they say, was a Magian priest named Gaumata, who closely resembled Bardia and used this resemblance to claim the throne. As Cambyses rushed to confront the usurper, tragedy struck. He was injured during the journey, reportedly by accidentally stabbing himself in the thigh while mounting his horse. The wound became infected, and not long after, in 522 BC, Cambyses died. Cambyses died without an heir and without ever reclaiming his throne. The empire was thrown into uncertainty. For several months, the man claiming to be Bardia, whether genuine or not, ruled uncontested. But then came the rise of Darius, a member of a collateral branch of the Achaemenid family and part of Cambyses' elite military staff. In an account carved into the famous Behistun inscription, Darius claimed that he and a group of nobles discovered the truth, that the ruling king was an impostor, not the real Bardia. In a coordinated attack, they assassinated him and placed Darius I on the throne. This marked the beginning of a new phase in the Achaemenid Empire, one that would stabilize the realm, reorganize the administration, and expand the empire to its greatest extent. Darius spent the first years of his reign suppressing revolts across the empire, from Babylonia to Egypt, from Media to Elam. restoring the unity that Cambyses' sudden death had put at risk. Through a combination of military strength and administrative innovation, he reformed the empire's structure, dividing it into satrapies or provinces, each governed by trusted officials. But Darius was not content to rule over what had already been conquered. His ambitions turned westward, toward the Greek world. In 499 BC, the Greek cities of Ionia rebelled against his authority. Darius crushed the revolt, but the conflict would not end there. It would escalate into a full-scale confrontation between Persia and the independent Greek city-states, leading to the famous battles of Marathon, Thermopylae, and Salamis in the years that followed. The clash between East and West, between the mighty Persian Empire and the fierce independent Greeks, would become one of the most dramatic struggles of the ancient world. But that is a story for another time.